One of the most common calls that I receive is the call that involves an animal, a dog or cat, eating something poisonous. It's especially common during the holidays when animals, especially dogs, tend to like to eat chocolate, which is poisonous to them. So we need to know what to do in the case that your animal eats something poisonous. So first thing to note is, in any case, you should always call your veterinarian and you should always take them in for further evaluation because even though you may get the toxin out, there may still be some side effects. So first things we need to think about are, first of all, what did your animal eat? So, if it's something that was caustic, such as gasoline or bleach, we don't want to induce vomiting because that can actually cause burning of the esophagus coming back up. So we want to, not make them throw up at that point. If you determine it's something that they ate that, can be vomited back up without damage, then we definitely want to do that as soon as possible. And, the sooner, 2 hours is kind of the guideline that we use. If an animal ate something poisonous within 2 hours, we'll usually induce vomiting. So, some of the things that we see a lot are rat poison is one. So I, would always recommend not having rat poison around your animals in the first place. But in the case that it does happen, then you need to know what to do. And also chocolate, we see that a lot. So those are the two most common things. Something you will have around the house or is included in these first aid kits is actual hydrogen peroxide. And we need to make sure that it's 3% peroxide because 3% peroxide will not cause damage. If you have some of the more higher grade peroxides, like for instance for coloring hair, that can actually cause internal damage. So we want to stay away from that. So just use the 3% peroxide and you'll be fine. The guidelines are 1 cc per pound of an animal. We don't want to exceed 60 cc's, and a cc, 1 tablespoon equals 30 cc's. So that's just, if you don't have a syringe around, then that's a good thing to use as a guideline. So 1 cc per pound, not to exceed 60 pounds. So usually, in his case, I would probably use about 40 cc's initially. And, the most useful thing to have around is a syringe. If you don't have a syringe, you can use a turkey baster or anything of that nature to get them to drink it because they're not going to drink it on their own, unfortunately. So basically what you do is you can take this out of the package here. You don't care. Maybe. Sure, bud. So, you'll drop your peroxide just in a syringe like this, and I won't do it here to make them throw up, but just draw it up, and you're going to have to force them to eat or drink it. So you just have to stand over them and just put in a little bit at a time, and they will drink it as you're forcing it to them. What I found works best from my personal experience, unfortunately, is that it's kind of like watching a pot boil. It'll occur faster if you don't watch them. So put them away in a kennel after you give them the peroxide, or somewhere, a garage somewhere where you can clean the mess up easily enough. And then, check on them periodically because, what can happen is if they throw it up, they can actually eat it again. So, that's going to be an issue. So, once they throw up, that's a good thing to get the toxin out first is of utmost importance. Second thing, that I would recommend having around is activated charcoal. And even if you make them throw up, there can still be some residue in the system already, absorbing and causing damage. So, the activated charcoal actually serves as something that will help absorb the toxins and then move them through the body and hopefully minimizing damage. So this is charcoal, and once again, this is a messy project, so you have to take them outside and let them eat it because it will get black all over your carpet or floor, whatever you're trying to do it on. But the dosages are on the activated charcoal, so you just do it according to weight and then make them eat this, and then hopefully they won't throw it back up and it'll stay down and do its work. So other thing to talk about, if an animal eats like a sharp object, during Christmas time, it's sometimes common to see them eat Christmas balls or ornaments. You don't want them to vomit that back up, or like a chicken bone is another thing I hear a lot. So you don't want them to vomit those things back up because they can actually get caught in the esophagus and once again cause damage on the way back up. So the way you deal with those would be to feed them like, say, 4 or 5 or 6 pieces of bread, and that can actually help pad the objects and help pass them through. If you do feed them the bread, though, you need to still make sure that you observe them for the next 4 or 5 days, and probably have them taken and have an X-ray taken to make sure there's not, like for instance, something lodged in the intestine that may cause a perforation. So, just be aware of those kind of things, and hopefully you don't ever have to experience it, but hopefully this helps. First thing to consider in the case that your animal eats something poisonous is who you should call. So, the first thing I always recommend is just calling your veterinarian or an emergency vet clinic somewhere near your vicinity. Second thing that can be useful is calling the Pet Poison Control Hotline, which the number is right here on the sheet, and it's also on our website. So, either one of those two resources can be very helpful. and then we'll also talk about how to treat your animal, in between calling the vet and actually going to the vet's office.